Hello, everybody. I'm Ann Harrigan, and this is Big Sky Sounds. We're delighted that you're joining with us today, whether you're seeing us on Community 7 in advance of the concert, or if you're in the auditorium at the Alberta Bear Theatre. We've got a lot to talk about because we have a very special guest, Christies Conover. Welcome back to Montana, Christy.
Thank you, Ann. I am so happy to be here.
We've known each other for a minute.
For a minute.
We've been talking about it. The first time that we got together was 2008.
Yeah.
Yeah, talk about what it was like to come back, because you are a Montana native, a Billings native,
Yes.
as a matter of fact. So tell us a little bit about your background and what brought you back to Montana.
Well, Billings is probably one of the best places to grow up, in my opinion. I graduated from Billings Senior High. I had amazing music teachers. Some of them I actually saw yesterday at the master class that I did at MSUB, Cheryl Pidak, Scott Corey, Ed Harris. I mean, I could just go on and on. But that really solidified my love of music and wanting to pursue it. So after I graduated, I went off to college and did my undergraduate at San Jose State, did my graduate work at CU Boulder, and then find every excuse to come home, come back to Billings. But you and the symphony have been so wonderful to always bring me back, to help me always have an opportunity with an orchestra piece that maybe I haven't done before or I've always wanted to do. So I'm so honored to always come back and to be here for, well, set your penultimate year
Yes.
here with the symphony, which is also kind of sad, and a closing of a chapter, an opening of a new chapter. Amazing.
Oh, well, thank you. Yeah, it's an exciting time for me. We've done so many things in the last 19, now next year will be my 20th season.
Wow.
And so it's our 75th anniversary also. So we've got great things in store.
Many milestones.
I'm excited for the new chapter in my life also, but I'm also very thrilled with the guest artists we've got coming in next year in the project. So it'll be a lot of fun. But let's talk about this concert that's happening Saturday
Yes.
at 7:30 p.m. at the Alberta Bear Theatre. We are going to be performing two blockbusters of the symphonic world, the Poulenc Gloria. Talk about that a little bit. What are your thoughts on that piece?
Funny story. When you first asked me if I was interested, I thought, oh yeah, Poulenc's Gloria. I've never sung that. That would be a really fun piece to learn. I looked at it. I thought, yep, this is all doable. I can do it. I said yes. And then I started learning it. And when you learn it, I wanted to hear the piece as a whole. So I listened to different recordings. And then I found myself singing along with all the soprano choral parts. And I went, oh, wait a minute. I think I've done this. And
Yes.
I think I did it in my undergraduate choir in the university choir that I was in San Jose State. And we did wonderful things with orchestra, with soloists, and getting the repertoire under our belt. And sometimes you forget what repertoire you've done until you've come back to it in full circle. So again, music education is so important, even when you can't remember it, because somehow it'll come back to you. So I started learning it, and it is just, it's a glorious Gloria, and the other famous Gloria is Vivaldi, but Poulenc, I was kind of amazed that it premiered in 1961. We're not talking about centuries old repertoire. We're talking about just last century and later in last century. So harmonically, you get the adventurous side of things, I would say, and a lot of light and dark. There were moments in it that I was listening and I thought, well, that could be Harry Potter, But it's not Mozart. It's not Vivaldi, very straight. It has unexpected turns. It has a lot of colors and variety. And as I was thinking, I was like, I think I sing all the slow parts.
You do. You sing the slow, beautiful parts.
Right.
So let's step back for a minute, because that's a form. We say the Poulenc Gloria, like everybody knows what it is. But if you were raised, say, in the Catholic Church, and it's interesting that this piece was written in 1961, because just a few years later, the Catholic Church moved from the Latin to the English. And I remember it very clearly. It was a big shift. But what composers would do with a Mass or a Gloria, in this case, Poulenc took one prayer and he divided it into parts. And it's so interesting the way he does it. It's all in Latin, but we're going to have the Latin and the English on the screen so everybody can follow it along. And it's such beautiful text, it's such beautiful prayers. And he breaks it down and he paints the words. And so the first words are just glory to God in the highest.
Yep.
And you can, and then on peace unto men of goodwill, men of goodwill. And so he uses the orchestra to have this brilliant trumpet fanfare, and you can just feel the heavens opening with this glory to God in the highest. And there's different sections to the piece that sort of are devoted to different parts of the prayer, which is funny because I remember as a kid, you're sort of going through really fast, Gloria, you know, zip, 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 so you don't forget the words, right? And here you're really sitting in and listening to what the words mean.
And repeating it so many times in different ways, because, at least for me personally, I feel like when you say a prayer that is memorized, you say it in different ways, or, you know, just really fast, but it can be said with so many different inflections, and that's what the music does for us, is that it says the prayer and says the words in a variety of ways.
It does, and it really emphasizes, and you start to sort of soak in just the beauty of the language and the beauty of the chorale. The chorale sounds absolutely magnificent, by the way.
They do, of
under
course.
Stephen, of course. So you have several different spots. You kind of come in as the angel, you know, and talk about the parts that you're singing.
The parts that I sing are, again, the slow, really still moments. There's a lot of activity, you know, there's the glory, there's the trumpet fanfare in the beginning, and then there's just kind of this slow stop of time. And Domine Deus, not in that range, because it's really high. But it's again, is so reflective, I think. And when the soprano soloist comes in again, she comes in 3 of the 6 movements. And every time it's just kind of stop, and then she interplays with the chorale, which is so fun. But the last piece, I think, is one of my favorites, because it culminates in all the different things that have been done, but stretches them out a little bit. And there's kind of the fury, and then there's an absolute stop with an amen. Like, okay, this is now how we end. But again, some of the themes come back to close out the entire work, and it's just magnificent. I have a new respect for it from the perspective of a soloist instead of a chorus member.
So you're coming full circle and really getting to take in all the meaning of this piece. Yeah. Oh, it's wonderful. Now, let's talk about how many times you've been back. We talked about 2008. You were Miss Montana at the time. I remember that.
I had just given my title, actually, to Kristen Mantooth Yealy, a friend of mine who I'll see tomorrow. Actually, I'm excited about that. And she might be in the audience.
Wonderful.
So I had just given my title to her, and it was the summer that I was preparing to go to graduate school. I hadn't yet been there, and I remember thinking, oh, if I could sing with the Billing Symphony, that would be a highlight. I'd never sung with an orchestra before.
Really?
I don't know, not at that time. And you were fairly new. You were the new conductor of the symphony.
I think it was my 3rd year.
Yeah,
yes.
A new music director. So it was really fun to have also a female leader come in, and to work under you was wonderful. So I think I supplied a picture, and that's kind of fun to see.
Oh, there
how
you are.
We've changed, maybe.
Yes, looking great.
And Anne in the background, and we said, you know, just a little lighter hair. That's all, both of us.
Oh, you've come back many times. I mean, you have such a beautiful voice, and you're such a joy to work with. But we've done Mahler's 2nd Symphony. That was an epic performance. I remember that. Brilliant performance.
Glorious.
Carmen, you performed Michaela. Beethoven's 9th Symphony.
Yes.
So, and now coming back again. You've done some other things. I remember most notably, You did a very interesting Pamina magic flute with the Minnesota Opera.
Yes.
And you were on the cover of Opera America, if I remember.
Oh,
yes,
I was?
You were.
Look at that.
So
that production was so unique. It actually came from the Komische Oper Berlin in Germany.
Yes.
And they toured it internationally. And so I went with them, with the Komische Oper Berlin, to China with that production. And it's what I think we're leaning towards now is this infusion of what we can do with the art form now with technology and with cinematography and still pay tribute to Mozart, pay tribute to 1920s silent film, to different parts of our art form that have really come together and we can enjoy again and again. I think Mozart would have approved. I think he would have been like,
so too. You were dressed as a flapper, if I remember.
Yeah.
And weren't you hanging from the wall?
Yes. We described it as a vertical stage.
Ah.
It's not something you stand on. It's something that is a movie screen, and there were doors that would flip, that would turn, and you would be on a small platform and secured in.
Oh, good.
But you had to do all of your actions standing in one place.
That's incredible.
It was
singing.
And singing. And it was not park and bark, which is kind of a term we
Right.
make fun of, where,
Yes.
you know, you're an opera singer, so you park, you stand still, and you sing. But it wasn't that, because you had to interact with the animation that was being projected on the screen beside
Behind you.
Yeah. And it was choreographed, but it was very active. It was fun.
It was an exciting production, I remember that. So.
Yes.
Oh my goodness. Now, you just gave a class on stage presence a couple of days ago, and I heard some people really enjoyed it. For those people who weren't able to attend, can you give us a snapshot of what you talk about when you're talking about stage presence?
Yes. I've done this master class quite a few times. Really, it's beneficial for young performers, because they have to realize that you can hone your craft, you can practice, you can rehearse, you can do all of the things that you're supposed to do, and yet the essence of performing is communicating outside of us to an audience, to somebody that is listening and watching. And oftentimes what gets lost is the music, of course, is always glorious, but there's a lot more to a performance than just the music. It is your presentation of it. So I call it conducting your presence, and things that are in your control. Your facial expressions, your eye contact engagement, the tone of your voice as you announce something, and also you can control the tone of the voice of the small voice inside your head that's telling you all the messages of you're doing badly, I hate this part, I'm gonna mess this up, or this is glorious, wait till they hear this is gonna be amazing. And that change of what you can control and putting it in the most positive way and practicing it over and over, just like you do your music, can really affect how then you communicate in your performance. So we had 4 wonderful students. We had a trumpet player, 2 voice students, and a saxophonist. And in a little over an hour, we really worked on their presentation of their music on a stage. And they were great to work with, really willing to try new things and experiment and play, and it was so fun. So thank you to Darren Small, Dr. Darren Small at MSUB, and to Brad Constantine for really collaborating and putting that all together.
I'm so glad you did that. That's such an important part of performance that doesn't always get taught as well in school, and that we forget. And having gone through COVID as we have, we remember what it was like not having audiences. But in fact, the reason why we perform is to have that connection with you, our audiences, and to really share that feeling of transformation that music gives us. And so that skill, I think, isn't taught as well, and it has to be learned later. And I also said that those moments of self-doubt, which is a perfect segue to the second part of our concert, which will be Tchaikovsky's Fifth Symphony.
Yeah.
But before I get into that, I just want to remind everybody, if you're not here at the ABT already, the concert is Saturday at 7:30 p.m. at the Alberta Bear Theatre, and you can go on billingsymphony.org for more information, and it is going to be an epic performance. So we finish the Poulenc Gloria, and we have our intermission, and we go into one of the most dramatic, soulful pieces ever written by Peter Ilyich Tchaikovsky, the Fifth Symphony, which is an odyssey. And we'll be talking about this a little bit more in the concert, so if you're interested in more coming in, I'll be talking about it. But for those of you who are here, the symphonic form has been around for a long time. We talk about symphonies, but typically a symphony is a longer piece of music that's broken into sections. And typically there's 4 sections, you know, all the way back from, you know, the Mozart, the Haydn symphonies, all the way through to Mahler and beyond. We hear this word symphony. What does symphony mean? And it's a journey, and it's the composer's way of telling us a story over these 4 separate, we call them movements, these sections. But Tchaikovsky really wanted to tell a story. It was very personal, almost like an autobiography. And he was plagued with doubt, absolutely plagued with doubt. And one thing's, why would you want to go hear somebody who's plagued with doubt? Because we all feel it. And when you hear it in the music, it's so beautiful. And one quote I heard is that the Russians really bear their suffering on their sleeve, you know, and it's just something cathartic because we all feel it. You're talking about the voices in your head, and Tchaikovsky had the courage to write in the music and kind of write this journey of how he got through it. And what he did is he had this motive that he did over and over again. But the first movement, you can definitely feel the turmoil. It's so dramatic, and it's almost a battle of the self. And then the second movement has the most beautiful horn solo ever written, and it just floats. And then the horn plays it, and then the violins and the cellos take it over, and you just feel so uplifted and inspired. You just, you know, you can lay back and close your eyes and just let this music wash over you, and whatever's been bothering you this week, I can promise you, it'll be gone. And you can fall asleep, that's okay, you know, but it's just feel this, take this in, and you feel so much beauty and so much love in this piece. And then the third movement is a waltz, which, who doesn't love a waltz? And of course, Tchaikovsky wrote the Nutcracker, Sleeping Beauty, and Swan Lake all after this symphony.
Oh, that makes sense.
It does, doesn't it? And so you see this, he's working himself up to this dancing. And then the last movement is furious. I mean, brilliant. The sort of sound you can only hear in an orchestra and you can only hear live. There is nothing, literally nothing in the world that replicates the sound of 65 musicians on stage going nuts.
Yes,
you know?
Exactly. There is energy. There is so many vibrations that a speaker could never replicate.
It's true, you know. So it's exciting to be here and have our season finale with this brilliant piece of music, having you back, which is so wonderful, and just enjoying this experience with our Billings Symphony family. I should note also that at the beginning of the concert, we're going to be paying tribute to many of the people who are in our Billings Symphony family who passed away in the last 2 years. So sad times, you know, as recently as just last week, Tina Nelson, a former member of the orchestra, but many people, you know, that we've lost. So we're taking a minute to just remember them and celebrate them and appreciate everything that they did for us and the joy that they brought to our community. And so we're starting with Elgar's Nimrod from the Enigma Variations.
What a wonderful tribute.
Oh, it'll be very special, a little tear to the eye there, but I remember each and every one of these people, you know, from my last 20 years, and it just gives us a minute to think about them and everything they did for us. So we go from Nimrod to Gloria to Tchaikovsky. We are covering it, let me tell you. So if you haven't been in the symphony, this is a great opportunity to hear something completely different than you've ever experienced. If you have been, you know, like what you say, if you know, you know, and you're in for a real treat for our season finale of the Billings Symphony Orchestra. And now this has been Big Sky Sounds, a program of the Billings Symphony. And again, billingssymphony.org if you're interested in learning more, and we will see you on Saturday night.
Thank you so much,
Thank
Anne.
you, Christy.